Well, President Joe Biden announcing this weekend that he will be ending his bid for the presidency in 2024.
Of course, a huge change in the race for the White House. And with Donald Trump now officially the Republican nominee, Democrats are under pressure to solidify a nominee, and quickly. We're joined now by Calvin University's Doug Koopman, of course, an expert on political party dynamics. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Janice.
Of course. I think a lot of people maybe expected this news, but we're still surprised to have this official announcement from the president yesterday. He has endorsed his vice president, but how likely is it that Kamala Harris will be the nominee, and what's next?
Yeah, I actually think it's quite likely. The delegates are only officially pledged to President Biden, and now that he's withdrawn, they're free to go. But there are people who have liked Joe Biden, have supported Joe Biden, and in many ways, I think the convention will be an appreciation of President Biden's 4 years and passing the torch on. So I do think she's very likely, not exactly assured yet, but very likely to be the presidential nominee.
I think you summed it up well. Likely and assured are two different things, and we do have the Democratic National Convention coming up. Last look at poll numbers. The vice president doesn't stack up too well against Donald Trump in a lot of areas across the country. What can we expect? How is that going to factor in, and what kind of potential chaos can we expect from the convention in Chicago?
Sure, I think there will be some chaos. I do think there'll be like a 3-week, almost mini primary or contest actually for the vice presidential seat. I would say within the Democratic Party, the major concern was House seats and Senate seats. Setting aside the presidential race, which is its own kind of dynamic, Harris presidential candidacy probably energizes the Democratic base and helps them in seats for the U.S. Senate and for the U.S. House. So it's much more the entire party and not just the top of the ticket that was really despairing the last 3 weeks since the presidential debate, and that's sort of taken care of. And then you have, obviously, the presidential contest in a different arena. But the big concern was the down ticket races.
We've seen people applauding President Biden for this decision, saying that he's putting his country and the American people first. But then we also have some on the Republican side that say if he's not fit to run for re-election, he's not fit to serve right now and should step down immediately. What would you say about that? And is there a possibility that that could happen?
So I don't really see him stepping down. I think the major concern, and a very legitimate concern, is not necessarily President Biden this year, but 2, 3, or 4 years down the road. I mean, the next elected president will serve for 4 years and 6 months from today, actually. And so I think that tail end concern of what happens in 2026 or 2027 was a very legitimate concern. And I know the Republicans are making a point of serving right now, but I do think the tail end concern is a very legitimate one that even President Biden saw, and he backed out then.
All right, Doug Koopman with Calvin University. We always appreciate your insight and analysis. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks very much.